Okay, so this one is a graph. This is the graph of f of x is equal to 1 over x. The most popular rational function, 1 over x. The graph is given, okay? Pero kung titignan natin ang graph in relation to your performance task, we see here that ito kasing ibig sabihin negative infinity. Kapag tuloy-tuloy ka sa pagpunta sa left, negative infinity. Ito naman positive infinity. This is positive infinity, negative infinity. Infinity, infinite. Okay? So, as x keeps on decreasing, sabi niya dito, y then approaches 0, closer to 0. So dito, x equals 0 becomes the vertical asymptote. So, ang x habang nilalapitan ng 0 from the left, ang y naman ay tuloy-tuloy sa pagbaba. Kaya y keeps on decreasing without bound. And here, as x keeps on approaching 0 from the left, from the right, then y keeps on increasing as indicated by this illustration here. So kapag nilagay mo siya ng limit problem, ganyan lang siya. The function, 1 over x, anong ginagawa ng x? X keeps on approaching 0 from the right, isulat mo yan. At anong ginagawa ng y? Y approaches or keeps on increasing without bound. So, halimbawa magbigay tayo ng graph. Bigay ko ng graph. Let's say this is the graph. Okay. Ito yung imaginary vertical lines, imaginary horizontal lines, and then maglagay na ako ng graph. Let's say for example, ganito yung tsura ng graph. Tandaan nyo class, iba-iba ang itsura ng bawat ng graphs. Okay? Sample graphs lang ito para maintindihan ninyo yung tinatawag natin limits at infinity and infinite limits. Okay? Let's say this is 4, this is negative 3, and this. Nawalan ako ng connection class. So I'll share to you again. Okay? Yes, can you hear me? Can you see the screen?
Opo, sir.
Yes, sir.
Pero I can't write. Ayun, I can now write. Okay? Ang hirap naman ng ganito. So, 3 ito. Close ako ng camera for signal. So, 3. Kung gagawa ka ng limit problem dito, unang-unang pansinin mo yung arrow. Yung arrow na to, nakikita mo naman, paakyat siya. This is positive infinity, this is negative infinity. Paakyat siya, no? So, pwede mong sabihin dito, y keeps on increasing. Ito din. Y keeps on increasing. So, ano pa? About this one? Y keeps on decreasing. Even this. Okay? O yan. Yan yung mga y na tuloy-tuloy sa pagbaba or pagkakyat. Ngayon, punta naman tayo sa x values. Pag mapapansin mo to, ang ginagawa ng x dito, tuloy-tuloy siya sa pag-increase. Remember that for x values, horizontal. Horizontal movement. Y is vertical movement. Huwag kayong mawala dun. Kaya sabi ko kanina, pataas, pababa. Yun ang y. So pag left, right, yun ang x. Okay? So x here keeps on increasing. That's x approaches positive infinity. What else? Even this one. This is also an indication that x keeps on decreasing. Okay? Sir, paano mo nasabi yun? Tandaan nyo class na kapag merong arrow dito, ang ibig sabihin ng arrow ay tuloy-tuloy na movement at dahil pinag-uusapan natin ay function, Hindi pwedeng mangyari na magbaluktot yung graph na yan na biglang sasayaw siya ng ganyan. O di nasaan ng vertical line test. Hindi na violate mo vertical line test. Class, okay, the definition of function is always true. No? And always take note, vertical line test. At hindi na natin kailangan i-expound pa yun dahil GenMath nyo. At kumbaga given na rule na yun. Given na yun. Okay? Kaya bakit ko sinabing x approaches negative infinity? Kasi nakikita mo ang movement ng graph na to. Okay? Kung pababa siya ng ganyan, ibig sabihin, ino-occupy niya, kinukuha niya yung mga values na infinitely negative values of x. Nakukuha niya yan. Ayan sila. Naka-arrow pa siya. So, ibig sabihin, tuloy-tuloy lang siya sa movement. Okay? What else? O, nakikita mo naman nito. Nakikita mo dito, x approaches negative 3. From the left or from the right, x approaches negative 3 from the left. What else? Okay, ito pa. This also indicates that x approaches 4 from the left. O sabihin natin from the right, x approaches 4 from the left. What else? Ang dami, no? Okay, so ngayon, ang task natin, gagawa tayo ng infinite limits or limits of infinity. Well, this is just to support your study about your infinite limits related performance tasks. Una, kung binalak mong alamin, what is the limit of that function? Let's say the function is h of x. As x approaches positive infinity. Ano bang ginagawa ng y habang ang x ay tuloy-tuloy sa pag-increase? Kung nakikita mo dito, the value of y here, 3, horizontally, it serves as the horizontal asymptote. So, ibig sabihin, ang y dito ay nalilimitahan lang siya hanggang 3 lang siya. So, habang nilalakihan mo ang values ng x, ang y dito ay tuloy-tuloy lang sa paglapit sa 3. The answer here is 3. So ano ito? Is it infinite limits or limits at infinity? Tingnan mo yung x. This is limits at infinity. Okay? What else? Try natin itong left of 4. What is the limit of the function h of x as x approaches 4 from the left? Ito yung 4. Ito yung left niya. So anong ginagawa ng y? Nakikita mo yung movement nito? Anong ginagawa niya? Nag-i-increase siya infinitely. Habang nilalapitan ng x ang 4 from the left. Ito sila ito yung ordered pairs kasi class. Kumbaga, nasan yung graph? Ang literal na ibig sabihin nito, nasan yung graph na pinakamalapit sa left ng 4? Di ba ito yung graph na pinakamalapit sa kanya? Anong ginagawa ng graph? Anong ginagawa ng y? Y keeps on increasing. We call this one as infinite limit. O ganyan. Infinite limit. Bakit? Kasi infinite ang ginagawa ng y values. What else? Here. Sabi mo, x keeps on increasing. So what is the limit of h of x as x keeps on increasing? Y also keeps on increasing. Nakikita mo to, Kung nag-i-increase, kung nagdi-decrease ang x dito, sumasabay ang y. They are directly proportional. With regards to this, in reference to this illustration, yun yung ginagawa niya. Okay? So ano pa ang pwedeng gawing limit problem dito? Even yung yung right ng 4, limit of h of x as x approaches 4 from its right. Anong ginagawa naman niya? Positive infinity. Paano mo na naman yun nasabi? Tingnan mo to. Ito yung right. Anong ginagawa ng graph from the right of 4? It is increasing infinitely. So the answer there is positive infinity. Okay? So ano pa? Ano pa mga interesting na Okay, this one. Pwede ito. What is the limit of the function h of x as x approaches -3 from the right. Anong ginagawa ng y? Ayan siya, oh. Lumalapit siya sa -3, right? Sa right niya. Ano ginagawa ng graph or ginagawa ng y? Nagdi-decrease siya infinitely. Your answer is -infinity. How do you call this one? We call this one as the infinite limit. O what else? Okay, magbigay tayo ng hindi infinite limit. O ito. Limit of h of x as x approaches -3 from the left. So anong sagot nito? The answer is 3. Hindi infinite. Ngayon siya, oh. I-stop siya dyan. The answer is 3. Okay. I hope that this kind of example can now support your learning on your performance task. Kasi all other examples anyway. My advice to you is just to observe the graph meantime. At pag sinabi nating left, right, tignan nyo yung graph na nasa left at right niya. Pinakamalapit na graph. Okay? Kasi nandoon yung hinahanap mo. Okay? So, magbigay ako ng isang graph and then I'll ask someone to just give the answer and then we will now proceed to our lecture proper. Gawa ako ng graph, tingnan natin. Masagutan nyo to. Ay, ang pangit naman. Okay, bear with the illustration. Wait, baguhin ko. Very sensitive kasi itong ginagamit kong writing pad. Pag hindi maayos yung tawag dito. When the pad is not parallel, wow. Diba? Namitan ko siya ng parallel lines. Okay, this is y, this is x. Okay, so try nyo i-comment lang yung sagot nyo. So let's say this is -9. This is 10. Let's say this is -5. Okay. Magbigay ako ng 5 lang na problem. So ibigay nyo nga sa akin ang sagot. Consider that this is a graph of g of x. So number 1, what is the limit of g of x as x approaches -9 from the left? 2, what is the limit of this function g of x as x approaches? Magbigay ako ng letters mamaya na magiging, let's say A, ang sagot mo is -infinity, B is +infinity, C is DNE, or kung wala dito, ibigay mo yung real number value. Wala dito sa choices. Ibigay mo yung real number value. Okay? So, in number 2, let's say here is x approaches 0. Number 3, what is the limit of this function g of x as x keeps on increasing? Number 4, limit of function g of x as x keeps on decreasing. Number 5, limit of g of x as lipat ko. Okay, you may start answering number 5. So paano naman ang limit ng g of x habang ang x keeps on approaching 10 from the left? Again, comment your answer A when it's negative infinity, B when it's positive infinity, C when it's DNE. And if that's a real number value, comment the real number value. Let me give you 30 seconds on to provide the answers para mabilis tayo mag-move. Kapag nasagutan nyo ito, 3 ang tamang sagot nyo sa 5, then I think you are ready now to perform, to do your performance task. On the graphing. Pero yung iba ay yung pag-aaralan din. Okay, please comment your answers. 30 seconds. Okay, so nakikita ko yung mga nagko-comment na sagot. Take note na yung comments nyo ay diretso lang sa akin. So hindi nakikita ng lahat. Okay, I received 4 answers already. Have a try, class. Have a try. 10 seconds. Okay, so let us now answer. I received 15, more than 15 answers. No one can see your answers. It's only me because you directed your answers to me. Okay. Sagutan na natin. Again, when you are answering questions like this, you have to be very conscious on the graph. Observe the graph clearly, analytically. In number 1, okay, sulat natin dito. Number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Kapag letters, ilagay natin yung letters. This is negative 9. So una, punta ka muna kay negative 9. Left of negative 9. So ito yung left niya. Anong ginagawa ng g of x? Kita mo to? Pababa siya, di ba? Infinitely, may arrow. The answer is negative infinity. This is negative infinity. Or in letters, that must be letter A. Okay? Number 2. 0, sabi niya. 0 ito, hindi mo nakikita kung left or right. So isa siyang two-sided limits. When x approaches 0 from its right, ang ginagawa ng y, ilalapitan ang negative 5. But when x approaches 0 from its left, ang y naman ay nilalapitan ng 0. Ayan siya. Compare them. 0 is not equal to negative 5, making it DNE. Number 2 is DNE or letter C on our choices given. Number 3, when x keeps on increasing, this is an indication. X keeps on increasing. O arrow, anong tinuturo ng arrow? Taas o baba? Diba baba? So y keeps on decreasing. Ang arrow na tinuturo niya ang baba, negative infinity. Ang arrow na tinuturo niya ang taas, positive infinity. Literal. Okay, so the answer here is this must be negative infinity. At madalas na ganyan na mga functions, ito yung mga slope na negative. Decreasing. As x increases, y decreases. Decreasing function sila. Number 3, the answer is A. If you have, sa tingin nyo mali yung sagot ko, you're free to stick. Okay? So number 3, it's negative infinity. In number 4, when x keeps on decreasing, ito siya, x keeps on decreasing, y gets closer to, it is 0. Because this acts as a horizontal asymptote, y is equal to 0. Number 4, it is 0. Okay, and in number 5, you are approaching 10 from the left. The answer is positive infinity. Ito yung 10. Ito yung left niya. Anong ginagawa ng y? Paakyat siya infinitely. The answer here is B. So ACA 0B. Tingnan ko yung mga sagot niya. A. Okay. Marami ang sumasagot ng B. B being positive infinity. I-review natin number 1, left of negative 9. Bumababa ang y infinitely habang nilalapitan ng negative 9. Left, negative infinity. Number 2, approaching 0. Ang right ng 0, ginagawa ng y nilalapitan ng negative 5. Left of 0, ang y nilalapitan ng 0. 0 versus negative 5, not equal. So the answer is D and E. Number 3, ang ginagawa ng x habang nag-i-increase ay siya namang ginagawang nagdi-decrease naman ng y. Arrow na pababa indicates negative infinity. The answer is negative infinity. Kung sana kasi class, kasi madalas ang sagot nyo positive infinity, nung nalito lang kayo. Kapag y, up, down, yan ang y. Kapag x, right, left, yun. Okay? O yan, it goes down. That's why it's negative infinity. Bakit kaya sinabi natin positive infinity ito? Class nasa quadrant 4 siya. And in quadrant 1, positive, negative. Di ba na, binibigyan ka ng clue ng quadrants eh. Tuloy-tuloy siya sa pag-move. Ito yung x, ito yung y. O di positive infinity, negative infinity. Kung paakyat sana siya ng ganyan, o di positive, positive. O another clue. Positive infinity is also positive infinity. Okay, and in number 5, left of negative 10, you see y here, y keeps on increasing. Okay, so based on your answers, I can see 2 or 1 or no wrong answers. And that's a good indication. You're doing it. You're doing it right. Only that, yung iba sa inyo nalilito. Yung iba sa inyo nagbibigay ng whole numbers. Nagbibigay ng real numbers. Ang warning kasi ng infinite limits at infinity, di ba, kaya nga may nilagay ako dito na note. Remember, sabi. From now on, when you are asked to evaluate a limit, we include or you include as possible answers positive infinity and negative infinity. But of course, we understand that they are not actual values, not actual limits in the truest sense of the term. You include positive infinity, negative infinity. Naniniwala ko may iba sa inyo na hindi pa to na-accept as the answers. Kaya I see in your comments, some of you answered real numbers, which are not the expected answers. Okay, that's a good try. That's a good try. Anyway, ako lang nakakita sa mga sagot niya. Natalis, gusto yung i-show to everyone. Hindi nakita nila lang na. Okay, now, we continue our lesson on limits at infinity. On the basic limit laws for limits at infinity, you should always be reminded, no? Remind yourself of the conditions. Kapag nagsusolve kayo, lagi niyong titignan ng condition. Ano ba yung nakaset na condition? Kapag nagme-memorize kayo, nagmamaster kayo ng mga rules, always remember this. Ano ang condition? Dahil lahat ng rules class are conditional statements. They always set conditions before that to be true. Before it was proven to be true. Conditions must be there. Okay? So, ang sabi ng condition dito, suppose limit of f of x as x keeps on increasing is L, where L is a real number, and limit of g of x as x keeps on increasing is m. So, L plus m, L minus m, Lm, L divided by m are all possible limits, lalo na kapag pinagsama mo yung dalawang functions. Addition, subtraction, multiplication, division. We call this one as operations on functions in general mathematics. Okay, but they are now involved in the idea of limits. We call this one as a basic limit laws. Batas sila na dapat sundin. Okay, now let's go. Pinakamabilis at pinakamadali sa lahat ng limit laws ay yung constant at identity. Pakatandaan, constant is constant. Ano man talaga yung gagawin ng x values ay hindi pakikilaman ng c. Dahil hindi naman siya gagalaw. Constant, literal. Okay? Pero ito naman si identity, kung anong gagawin ng x, gagawin din ng y. So, when x keeps on increasing, siya din mag-increase. Decreasing, magdi-decrease din siya. Identity function y is equal to x. Pero class, iba ang kwento ng y is equal to negative x. Dahil ang kakayahan ni negative sign ay baliktarin ang ginagawa ng isa. So kung halimbawa, si negative x approaches positive infinity, anyway, i-clear out natin ito as we go through kasi yan na yung constant multiple theorem. Okay? Now, just like this, constant, 2 lapagapan sagot. Pi and pi. Negative 1, constant. E plus 1 and e plus 1 are constants. Okay? Number 4 is identity function. Ang ginagawa ng x keeps on decreasing. Y din, tuloy-tuloy sa pag-decrease. We call that one as the identity functions. Okay? And nakikita mo, single term, monomial. Monomial pa lang ang mga ito. Okay, single terms ang mga ito. E plus 1 is considered to be monomial because that is considered to be a single constant. No? Okay, punta na tayo sa mga iba pang rules. The limit at infinity of a constant multiple of a function. Okay? Ang ibig sabihin nito, class, i-breakdown natin ito. Alam ko na lecture ko na to sa ibang sections, pero yung ibang sections parang hindi ka to nagawa. Limit of f of x as x keeps on increasing. Tapos yung isa naman as x keeps on decreasing. Tapos ang nangyari daw, pag nag-i-increase ang x, nag-i-increase din ang y. Tapos yung isa naman, nagdi-decrease din ang y. So pareho sila ng ginagawa. Kung yan daw ang kondisyon at ang nangyari ay meron kang constant at imumultiply mo yung constant doon, ang nangyayari daw ay may epekto ang constant sa magiging final answer mo. Okay? Pero dediretsuhin ko na kayo class sa shortcut niya. Itong first na rule, ang sabi niya, well, if C is a non-zero, again, ang ibig sabihin ng non-zero, okay, lahat ng numbers, wag lang 0. O yung number, wag lang 0. Kasi understood naman 0 multiplied to that is 0. Okay? And limit of 0 is constant. Kaya nga, wala siya sa rule. Okay? Kumbaga, hindi niya sinako. Kasi 0 is a very powerful number talaga. Na? However, is one of the numbers na gustong-gustong abangan ng mga nagsusolve, yung 0. Huwag lang score ay 0. Okay? So, tingnan nyo ito class. Ang limit daw ng product ng C at f of x as x approaches positive infinity, positive infinity or negative infinity is equal to positive infinity or negative infinity. Pero class, the breakdown, pag-iwalayin natin, we have the positive infinity, we have the negative infinity. Limit of this. Dahil ang ibig sabihin nito class, okay, pag nakakakita kayo ng mga ganitong pagkakasulat, ibig sabihin, unang naisulat ay plus, no, bago minus. Ganun din yung katumbas niya, plus muna bago minus. Ibig sabihin, positive is to positive. So limit as x approaches positive infinity is positive infinity. Yung isa naman, negative infinity. Wala daw epekto ang constant sa kanya. So ang ibig sabihin na nito class, o ito na, may kinalaman nito sa performance task. Kung positive ang number at multiply mo sa negative infinity, ang sagot ay negative infinity lapa. Napapaypanag tuloy ako. Wala siyang epekto. Kasi positive can just dance. Kumbaga, realidad, pag positive ang number, nakikisama lang siya. Okay? Wala siyang epekto pagdating sa sign. Nakikisama lang daw siya. Okay, so another is if you have 1/2 and 1/2 is a positive number, multiply that to positive infinity is positive infinity. Listen, we are not treating this one as actual equations. We are just treating them the way we understood limits. Kumbaga yung pagkakabigay niyan is how we understood limits. We are not treating them as actual equations because infinity is not a number. Ulitin ko, we are not treating them as actual equations, but we are just giving them their equivalents, no? In the concept of limits. Napapa-open camera ako kapag i-emphasize sa mga ganyan. Okay? Pero iba ang kwento ng negative class. Kapag ang inyong kapag daw ang inyong constant ay negative, ay may kakayahan siyang baguhin ang sign o ang movement. Kaya kung nakikita mo, ang pagkakasulat dito is positive, negative, tapos ang katumbas niya ay naging negative, positive. Ang ibig sabihin nito, kapag isulat mo siya in the limit, paghiwalayin natin, ang ibig sabihin nito, yung isa ay ito, limit of f of x as x approaches positive infinity, or nakalimutan ko yung C. Dapat may C ito. C, where C is greater than 0 or positive. Okay? Yan daw ay magiging negative infinity. Yung isa naman, limit ng C f of x as x approaches or keeps on decreasing ay magiging positive infinity. Magbabaliktad siya. And you know the reason here, class? Because that is negative. Kung sana nagbigay ka daw ng group of numbers or set of numbers, let's say 2, 3, or you see sa sequence. Halimbawa yan. Nag-multiply ka ng negative number, ano ang aasahan mo? Kung ito ay tuloy-tuloy sa pag-increase sana, halimbawa, continuous kasi there are so many numbers in between two integers. When you are asked to identify the number of numbers between two integers, the answer is infinite. No one can identify the number of numbers found between two integers. Okay? Paano kung nagbigay ka ng negative constant? Sinabi mo, C times f of x. O di, kaya niyang i-negate lahat yan. I-negate niya lahat yan. Anong i-expect mo ngayon? Instead, sana na mag-increase yan positively. Mag-negative yan. Yun yung sinasabi ng rule na ito. Okay? Pero kung, kasi x, di ba, ang attachment natin sa positive infinity, we say it's positive values, isn't it? We attach this two words here to that of positive infinity. Positive values, ganun madalas sa sinasabi natin. Negative infinity, negative values, isn't it? Okay, so what if you have negative values? So ito naman ang kwento ni negative values. You have negative 0.01, negative 0.0001, ganyan. Okay. You have 0, you have -1. Ay, kung paano kung naglagay ka ng C that's negative? O di ipa-positive niya lahat yan. There's no sign for 0. So, meaning to say, positive infinity ang aasahan mong behavior ng f of x. Okay? Kapag mag-graph tayo, pag-graph natin yan, okay? Kapag ipakita natin yung graph class, ito pinakita ko na ito sa iba. Halimbawa, y is equal to 2x. O yan. Yan ang graph na linear function, y is equal to 2x. Positive. Nakikita natin graphically speaking, x keeps on increasing as y also keeps on increasing or vice versa. Okay? Pero paano kung, ilagay na o yan siya, no? Naglagay ka ngayon, nag-multiply ka ng positive number, let's say 3 times. Yan yung sinasabi ng product of a constant and a function. 3 times 2x. Okay, nagbago ba? Hindi siya nagbago. Let's say mag-duplicate ako. Ibalik ko yung 2x. I-compare natin sila. Nung nilagyan mo ng nung y equals 2x siya, ang nangyari is mabagal siya mag-increase. Kita mo? When x is equal to 4, y is equal to 8 pa lang. Pero nung nag-multiply ka ng 3 sa kanya, ang bilis niya mag-increase class. Okay? Kung ano yung graph na pinakamalapit sa y-axis, yun yung graph na pinakamabilis ang pag-increase. Okay? Paano kung ginawa mong negative yan instead of positive 3? Maglagay ka ng negative. Maglagay natin. Ano nga asahan mo? Babalik ta rin niya. You see the movement there? Ang nangyari, naging negative. Okay? Ang values. When x keeps on approaching positive infinity, kaso nagkaroon ka ng isang negative 3 na constant, yun ang sinasabi nito. Ang x sana, kasi di ba yun ang sinasabi nito, x sana keeps on increasing. Ang asahan mo sana, positive infinity din, it keeps on increasing. Dahil naglagay ka ng constant which is negative, ang ginagawa ni negative constant ay babaguhin niya. Instead na positive infinity kanina, magiging negative infinity. I hope nakikita niyo sa graph ang ibig sabihin. Ganun din naman kay y equals 2x. Kung lagyan mo ng negative 1, multiply mo, babaguhin niya talaga. We see that as a power of negative numbers. Kaya nga, kapag nagsosolve ka, minsan, in general na, pwede mo nang gamitin ang multiplication rule. That positive is, when multiplied to positive, is positive. Okay? Walang problema kay positive. Kung lahat ng factors ay positive, then lahat talaga positive. Ito ang problema natin si negative. Dahil kung tatlo silang negative, magne-negate siya. So when the number of negative factors is not even, then you expect for a final sign that is, okay, that is negative. O negative, negative, negative. O yan na, partners itong dalawa. O di positive times negative, negative. So ibig sabihin, pairing. So para mag-positive siya. Okay? So when we treat with, when we're talking about unlike terms, then you always have negative. But you have to remember these rules, no? Always. So kapag i-treat na natin siya in infinity, positive times positive is positive infinity. So kung halimbawa, okay, parang ito, mamaya. So kung halimbawa ito, positive 6 or positive infinity, what would you expect? It's positive infinity. Basta positive yung constant mo at positive yung infinity. Kung negative ang constant mo tapos negative ang infinity, positive ang magiging result. Negative 0.38 times negative infinity, positive infinity. Okay? So here naman, positive times negative is negative. If you have, let's say, 15, 15 multiplied to negative infinity, the answer is, okay, negative infinity. But we do not treat them as equations. We are referring to the limit concept. Let's say here you have negative 62 multiplied to positive infinity, negative infinity. Okay, so that is on the operations under multiplication. That is still under multiplication class when it comes to infinity. Meron pang ibang kwento mamaya as we go through. So in these examples, if you have 7 as a positive constant, and this is negative infinity, factor out 7x, 7 times x, get the limits of the two factors, and you know that limit of x as x approaches negative infinity follows the identity rule. So kung ito ay negative infinity, ipa-follow siya. Yan ang magiging limit. Positive times negative is negative. Kaya ito negative infinity. Oh, walang problema dito. 5 times positive infinity is positive infinity. Negative, positive, negative. Negative, negative, positive. So minsan sa madaliang paraan, pansinin mo lang kung ano yung ginagawa ng infinity under limits of infinity. Ang limits of infinity, ito yung ginagawa ng x, Limits at infinity pala. Pansinin mo, if that's negative infinity or positive infinity, multiply mo sa kung ano yung sign ng constant. Okay? That now gives you the answer. Okay? Pero paano kung nagsabay sila? Paano kung meron kang positive infinity minus infinity? Ano masasabi mo dito? Ito ay next na rule. Okay? Yun yung next na rules natin as we go through. Okay, ito, interesting na to. Dahil from this rule, ay papunta na tayo sa iba pang nangyayari kay infinity. Limits of infinity of a positive integral power and a root of a function. Root function, usually, we call this one as radical functions. On some books, okay, radical functions ito. May mga libro kasi na root function, may mga ganun-ganun silang nababanggit. But these are radical functions. Okay? Again and again, always see the condition. May I highlight this one? So ano yung condition? Ang condition niya dito, una, ang n daw ay isang positive integer. What are positive integers? We have positive 1, 2, 3. These are the positive integers. These are whole numbers also. The numbers that we actually love. First monthsary, second monthsary, third monthsary, fourth monthsary. Diba? Okay. And limit of x as x approaches positive infinity is positive infinity. This is a strong condition. Okay. Kapag ganyan daw yung kondisyon, so ang kaya natin sabihin daw, when you get the limit of the nth power of x, okay, as x keeps on increasing, paano nagkaroon ng ganito? Dahil kapag isosolve mo siya using the rule, power rule for limits, yun yung week 1 natin, as x approaches positive infinity, tapos i-raise mo na siya sa n. Identity rule, okay? Limit of x and y equals x is an identity function. So ang sagot dyan, positive infinity pa rin, gagayahin niya. I-raise mo sa n, kahit ano daw yung n na yan, kung positive integer or negative integer. Pero I'll go beyond to that. When the base keeps on increasing, okay, for whatever is your n, be it odd or even, will always increase. Example, i-raise mo ito sa 99. Positive infinity pa rin yan, class. I-raise mo ito sa 1/5. Positive infinity pa rin yan. Yun yung kagandahan. Kahit hindi siya integer, fraction yan. Yun yung ginagawa niya. Okay? So kung halimbawa, i-raise mo yan sa 1/2, o positive infinity, i-raise mo yan sa 1/2. Okay, pwede kang magkaroon ng pattern dito. Square root of 2. Lakihan mo. Gawin mong 3. Gawin mong 4. Gawin mong 9. O, di ba nag-increase yung loob? Pero napapansin mo, di ba nag-increase din siya? Kasi ito nagiging 2 na ito naging 3. So possibility, mag-increase talaga lahat ng values. Yun ang sinasabi ng positive infinity raised to any power. Okay? Iba yung kwento ng add na add na ano, tawag dito. Even if it's an odd na integer. Okay? So sa negative infinity, iba yung kwento niya mamaya. Very sensitive ang negative infinity. For positive infinity, ito yung kanyang tinutukoy. Kaya nga na-highlight dito. Itong pangalawa naman, ito na siya, nth root of positive infinity. Siya na yun. Kung i-raise mo sa 1/5, ganyan, o magiging fifth root of positive infinity is still, no? Is still positive infinity. Yan, ito actually yung square root of positive infinity. In-increase mo, naging 2, 3, 4, 5. Lakihan mo, sabi niya. So, pansinin natin kung anong result. Nakikita mo din na nag-increase talaga siya. How much more if you have the square root of 1 million versus the square root of 10, which is bigger? Square root of 81 is already 9. And what about square root of 16 is already 4. But 16 is less than 81. So, it's really positive infinity. Okay? And another here is, even if n is odd, will always be positive. Okay, but anyway, pasok na yung odd and even kay positive integer. Okay? That is for positive infinity. So, mula daw dito sa rules na to, okay, from these rules, pwede tayong mag-derive ng relevant concept under power. Kapag ang n ay odd, raising a positive infinity to n is positive infinity. But when you raise a negative infinity to n where n is an odd, will give you negative infinity. Okay? Yan yung rule na ginagawa niya. When that keeps on increasing, pwede tayo mag-trial. So parang ito. Y equals 2 raised 2x keeps on increasing, right? Ano yung sinabi ng rule? Paano kung tuloy-tuloy sa pag-increase yun, i-raise mo siya sa isang positive, sabi niya. Pwede natin itong i-raise. So let's see. Dali, gawa ko. I-raise natin siya. 2x, tapos i-raise natin sa, let's say, positive 4. Okay, what can you observe, class? The more na mas mabilis ang pag-increase niya, no? Tingnan nyo yung pag-akyat ng graph niya. As x keeps on approaching positive infinity, y keeps on increasing. At ano din na napapansin nyo, class, kay 2x raised to 4? When x keeps on decreasing, anong ginagawa ng y? Hindi ba't nag-i-increase, class? Interestingly, dito nyo nakikita yung rule. Hindi, sulat natin. Bumuo tayo ng y that is equal to 2x is raised to 4. 2x quantity raised to 4. Kapag ang x ay tuloy-tuloy mo sa pag-i-increase, the more na mas mabilis mag-increase ang y. Dahil nga ni-raise mo pa siya sa 4. Ang ibig sabihin nito, yung 2x na yan, kasi ang limit kasi ng 2x is already positive infinity when x keeps on increasing infinitely. Kung raise mo yan sa 4, o di positive infinity pa rin, yun ang sinasabi ng first rule under even na power. First rule. Okay? Pero kapag ang 2x, no? When x keeps on decreasing, no, tingnan mo, balik tayo sa graph. When x keeps on decreasing, class, take a look into the second half. Okay, on the left of 0. Kapag tuloy-tuloy mong i-increase ang values ng x, di ba umaakyat yung graph? Okay, paano yun nangyari? Dahil ang ibig sabihin nito, class, kapag ni-raise mo ang negative infinity sa 4, because your exponent is an odd number, even number, it remains to be positive infinity. Kaya ito positive infinity. Parang ibig sabihin niya, negative, 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 o pairing, positive, positive. The answer is positive. Can you get now? It's all about pairing in multiplication. Kaya nga, the graph can also satisfy what the theorem tries to tell you. Okay? So yan. Saan tayo magiging careful? Kapag ang n ay isang odd. So for example, when you're going to raise negative infinity to 101, and dahil odd number ang 101, the answer is still is negative infinity. And all other rules na, kasi lahat na magiging positive infinity eh. Kailan lang ba siya nagiging negative infinity? Don't you know, class, that when you are reviewing this concept, kung tutuusin, dito ka na lang magpo-focus eh. Dito na lang. Kailan nga ba siya naging negative infinity? Kung lahat sila ay positive infinity, then when will it be negative? First clue, n is odd. And this is negative infinity. Yun lang. So pag nag-memorize ka ng ganyan, dun ka lang nakafocus. So katulad nitong example number 1. Oh. Kapag paghiwalayin mo to using the power rule, ang ibig sabihin niyan, limit of x as x approaches or keeps on increasing raised to 5. Identity function kasi ang y equals x, so gagayahin niya yung ginagawa ng x, so that is positive infinity raised to 5. Okay. Positive infinity lang pala yung nasa loob eh. So ano man yung exponent mo ay lagi lang siya positive infinity. Saan ka conscious? So itong number 2, conscious ka dito. Dahil negative ito, add pa to, negative infinity. Number 4, no problem kasi even number, positive infinity. Okay? Okay, you have to be very careful. Nabubulol tuloy ako. To be very careful on this negative x raised to 8 dahil kapag i-factor out mo yan, that is good as negative 1 times x raised to 8. So kapag gagawin mo siyang limit problem, separate negative 1 kasi constant multiple theorem, negative 1, and then multiply that to the limit of x raised to 8 as x approaches negative infinity. And since this follows rule of power, so pwede mong ilabas ang power exponent 8, and then you have limit of x as x approaches negative infinity. So kaya naging negative infinity raised to 8. And since the power is 8, which is even, then positive infinity yung magiging result. Negative and then positive infinity. Negative times positive is negative. Remember? Because this is considered to be negative 1. Constant times, bumalik lang tayo dun dito. Dito lang tayo. Bumalik lang tayo dito, class. Positive times negative. Balik na ako. Negative times positive is negative. Bumalik lang tayo dito. Okay? Kaya nga yung naging sagot natin dito, in number 3 is, number 4 is negative infinity. Because of this. Negative times positive is negative. Number 3, no problem at all because that is just an even number. That's positive infinity. And 0.009, I think that's, I have ano dito. May typo ako din. 0.39 dapat. Okay? Typo. I'll correct that in your LM. 0.39 dapat. Yan. Okay? Positive infinity. That's very sensitive kasi class yung pag-encode ng numbers. Minsan may mga hindi ako nakikita. Kaya bear with me if you find something na may error. Okay? Alam kong kino-comment nyo sa feedback form. Nababasa kong feedback form. Mas magandang diretsuhin nyo ako kung may nakita kayong typo para ma-edit natin kaagad. Kasi I may not be enough to check all of them. All of these typos. If you found some, tell us. Huwag nyo nang hintayin pa ang Friday na i-comment lang sa feedback. Okay, kasi natapos na yung week, hindi pa natin na-correct. Hintay mo pa yung feedback form. So, i-send mo na sa akin kagad-agad. Okay? So, number 6, negative infinity. Okay. Pina-follow lang natin yung power rule na naman dito. Identity. Gagayahin ng x ang negative infinity. Negative times negative, positive. Okay? So, cube root of positive. is positive infinity. Okay? And all of them na, negative infinity. This is x. Nagayahin niya, so negative infinity. Seventh root of negative infinity is negative infinity. Nasaan ba? Binigay ko na ba yung rule ng ano? Okay. Dito sa nth root class, para malinawan kayo, when n is even, nth root of positive infinity is positive infinity. Even and odd, pareho sila. Or positive integers. Ang sensitive dito, nth root of negative infinity, kung even yan, this is DNE. Infinity to 8 tuloy nilagay ko. Bakit? Kasi nga even root, di ba pinagbabawal ng even na ano? Pinagbabawal ng even na index ang negative numbers, kaya siya DNE class. Pero kung yan ay isang odd, if that is an odd number class, tatanggapin niya yan, gagayahin. Ang gagawin mo lang, kokopyahin mo lang yung sign niya. So for example, when n is odd, nth root of positive infinity is positive infinity. Nth root of negative infinity is negative infinity class. Okay? Ganun yung ginagawa ni odd na index. Pwede tayo magbigay ng example dito pag mag-graph tayo. Y is equal to, nasaan ka? Square root. Ito. Bigay tayo ng cube root of x. Y is equal to cube root. O yan siya. Itong graph na ito, pinapatunayan niya na kahit i-decrease mo yung values ng x infinitely, i-compare natin silang dalawa kay square root. Square root of x versus cube root of x. Even versus odd. I'll change the color of even. Ayan. Ito si orange ay si square root. Cube root itong si blue or violet. Okay? And tinan mo si odd na index. Ang kanyang range ay set of all real numbers. Meron ito sa GenMath. Week 2 ito nung midterm. I still remember. Week 2. Okay? And then itong orange na ito is square root of x. Si square root of x, nag-start lang siya sa 0 kasi pinagbabawal sa kanya yung lahat ng negative numbers. Pinapatunayan niyan, class, na kapag magkaroon ka ng isang even na index at pinakuha sa iyo ang nth root ng isang negative infinity, that will be possible magkaroon siya ng limit. Kaya siya DNE. The graph also proves that to you. Ayan siya, oh. Hindi nga siya dadaan dyan sa negative. Kasi bawal lahat. Di ba? Negative infinity is to negative values. We don't accept radicands, which are negative numbers. Kapag yan naman ay isang index na odd, it will enjoy all. Kahit ang gawin ng x values ay mag-decrease infinitely, magdi-decrease la pa yan si y. Ipa-follow niya lang. Pababala pa siya. Okay? Kaya yun ang sinasabi ng rule dito. Nth root of negative infinity remains to be negative infinity for odd numbers. So again, you have to be very careful kay odd numbers. I think you don't need to be very careful kay odd number na index kasi gagayahin niya kung anong ginagawa ng radicand kung natuloy-tuloy sa pag-increase or decrease. Ang maging mabahala kayo kay even na index na nth root of negative infinity, then that will always be DNE, and the only reason is even index does not accept negative radicands. They remain undefined when you have negative radicands. Okay? Then all other examples are clearly defined naman sa inyo. Yan. So power rule, get the limit of the base x. As x approaches negative infinity, copy. Identity rule, square. Okay? O the negative times negative is positive. Kaya ito naging positive. Fourth root of positive, 4 is even, positive infinity. Okay, so that is already for the limits under multiplication. And let's have a review. We know already that negative is positive. Okay, when it comes to limits, that's positive also. Unlike signs, it's negative. Pero ang tanong dito, what about for addition and subtraction of infinite limits? Okay? Ang nami-misinterpret madalas ay itong si addition at subtraction of infinite limits. Ang sayang pag-aralan ng multiplication of limits, infinite limits, dahil pina-follow mo lang ang rule ng multiplication pagdating sa final signs. Si addition at subtraction ay kailangan nating kilalanin. So let's get to know them. The condition here is, let C be any constant. Then, okay, kapag inad mo ang isang function na tuloy-tuloy sa pag-increase sa isang positive na constant, ay walang pagbabago sa kanya. It remains to be positive infinity. Ang isang function na tuloy-tuloy sa pag-decrease, binawasan mo pa ng C, o di mas mabilis siya mag-decrease, right? Parang literal, mabilis na nga siya, nagdi-decrease na nga siya. Decreasing pa yung inad mo sa kanya, which is negative. The more na magdi-decrease siya. Okay? A positive number, you add a positive function, increasing function, you add a negative integer or constant. Does not affect the movement or the behavior of the function. It remains to be positive infinity. Okay, ayan siya. So class, sa madaling salita, okay? Sa madaling salita, walang epekto. A positive negative constant plus minus, okay, C or a positive negative infinity adding positive negative constant does not affect the infinity at all. Yan ang addition at subtraction ng constant sa infinity. Walang epekto, tinan nyo to. Positive, yun pa rin siya, positive. Negative, negative pa rin. Positive, walang nagbago sa kanya. Yun ang tinutukoy natin dyan, class. Okay? So dito, take note that subtraction may cause change in the sign just like this. Yun ang i-take note natin. Kasi tinan nyo yung arrangement dito, class. Nasa second term, yung C. Pero kapag binaliktad mo daw siya, class, you have to be very careful. Again, the power of negative sign. Ito kasi, ang ibig sabihin kasi nito, class, negative of negative infinity, ay parang assumption this is negative 1. Multiplied to negative infinity. Di ba yan na yung constant multiple? So, negative times negative becomes positive. Kaya nga siya naging C plus positive infinity. So, what is C plus positive infinity? It's positive infinity. Walang epekto. Okay, wala nang epekto ang C na yan sa pag-increase ng isang function. For example, so parang ito, ibalik natin siya sa 2x. Diba, this is 2x. Nag-minus ka ng 3. Ibalik, nasan siya? Nasan ka? This is 2x, yung mamaya. Yan si 2x. That is 2x. Tuloy, kung ini-increase mo yung x, nag-i-increase din ng y. Kung nilagyan mo ng 3, nag-plus ka ng 3 na constant, pinago ba niya? Hindi. Nag-i-increase la pa siya. Infinitely. Nag-subtract ka ng 3, binago ba niya ang movement? The more na hindi. Nag-i-increase pa rin siya. Pero ang sinasabi nitong rule, when you have constant minus an increasing function or decreasing function, ay babaguhin niya ang movement. So, kung binago ko yung movement, let's say 3 minus 2x. Halata naman, no? Ang slope ay naging negative 2 ang slope. So, no, asahan mo dahil sa slope na yan, magkakaroon ka nga talaga ng decreasing function. So, kapag ini-increase mo sana ang, or parang ito, dinidecrease mo sana, di ba? C minus a decreasing function, magiging positive infinity. Tingnan nyo yung saan papunta itong graph. Okay, tingnan nyo itong graph on the left. Left of 0. At tingnan nyo kung saan siya papunta. Binabawasan natin ang values ng x, decreasing the values of x. Napunta siya sa quadrant 2. Ang ibig sabihin ng quadrant 2 plus, decreasing yung values ng x. We have negative na x at positive na y. Negative x, positive y. Ibig sabihin, when you keep on decreasing, okay, I mean decreasing x, y keeps on increasing. Pabaliktad siya. Pampansinin mo naman itong graph na nakikita mo sa quadrant 4, ang x dyan ay positive, ang y ay negative. So, ibig sabihin, as you keep on increasing x, y keeps on decreasing. Pababa siya, oh. Okay? That's the graphical analysis versus the rule. And what else? Oh, ito na yung process. I think nakaka-relate na kayo dito in your performance task. 7 minus. So, ito magiging plus on the process. So, a positive constant plus infinity is positive infinity. No bearing at all. Negative infinity minus 9 on negative infinity will prevail. Ang hindi magpe-prevail na negative infinity pag pinaliktad mo yan. Let's say for example, 9 minus negative infinity. Ang sagot mo dyan is nagiging 9 plus infinity. Positive infinity. Pero ito kasi hindi. Walang epekto sa kanya, sa pwesto. 2 minus positive infinity. Ito, negative times positive. Oh, I think I have an error here. This must be plus. This is plus. Okay, so I'll check that out. I-update ko nga yung nasa, hindi ko napansin to. This must be positive infinity. What else? 8 minus 3 minus, okay? Negative times positive is negative. 8 minus infinity, magpe-prevail ang negative infinity. Okay? Positive times positive is positive. So positive infinity minus 1, prevail positive infinity. Magiging conscious lang naman kayo class dito. Okay. Wala na naman ang connection ko kanina. But anyway, we'll end at this portion muna kasi I know you're loaded already. Okay. So again, iulitin ko, maging conscious kayo sa multiplication. Negative is positive. No? And positive na. Unlike signs, negative is positive. Yes. Unlike signs is negative. Conscious kayo sa mga ganyan. May nakita tayong mga typo. So, check ko na yan kagad sa LMS. Okay? So, I think at this point, we deserve muna a rest. Parang nag-aano yung lalamunan ko. And then we will open another session tomorrow. Just, tawag dito.